your seats. The hour of 7:30 p.m. having arrived and a quorum of voters being present, it is my distinct pleasure to call to order the 2025 Tewksbury Annual Town Meeting. My name is Dustin Weir, and I am privileged to serve as town moderator this evening. Let the record show that a properly served and returned warrant is in possession. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a moment of silence respecting the loss in the last year of members from our community. Thank you. Please be seated. May I have the Chair of the Select Board, Mr. Mark Kratman, please come to the podium for his announcements for items of interest to the Assembly.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everyone for coming to town meeting tonight. We really appreciate people showing up. We got a couple of announcements from some of the nonprofits in the community. Tewksbury Food Pantry Postal Workers Drive. Each year, the postal workers in Tewksbury collect non-perishable food donations on the second Saturday in May. This year, it's May 10th, to benefit the Tewksbury Community Pantry. Residents will receive a yellow bag in the mail, which they can fill and leave out for pickout on Saturday, May 10th. In the past, the community has generously donated over 10,000 pounds of food to this drive, which helps fill the pantry shelf. It's the largest food drive of the year. This year in particular, they're looking forward to it. They need the help. The Power Flowers is having their Bloom Festival on Saturday, May 10th from 8:30 to 1 p.m. rain or shine at Grow Greenhouse, 1 Greenhouse Road, Tewksbury. It's just in time for Mother's Day. If you can join them, they'd appreciate it. Tewksbury Lions Club would like to thank everyone for their generosity to all the events they've had this year. They collected over 1,200 used eyeglasses and sunglasses for recycling and passing out through people in need throughout the world. The Garden Club will have their plant sale on Saturday, May 17th, 2025. That will be at the library from 9 to 2. That is also a rain or shine event. The Memorial Day services and parade will once again take place. The Memorial Day services will take place on Monday, May 26th at 10 a.m. Lisa Downey, our veterans agent, will be coordinating the ceremonies. And for more information, it will be on the town website. The Memorial Day parade will take place immediately afterwards. Memorial Day services, after the services, Town Hall, beginning at Town Hall at 11 a.m. The Patriotic Committee will be coordinating the parade, and more information will be posted on the website as well. We have a maintenance job that's happening on Route 38, so I figured I'd give the public a little update on it. The latest schedule for the Main Street Mass DOT projects. Curbing will be installation at the end of the week. That's due to weather delays. Paving schedule for 511 and 512. Pavement markings, recessed thermoplastic will happen on 519 and 520. This schedule is both for the southern projects, Shawsheen to 2230 Main Street, and the northern part of the project, which is Colonial Drive to Pinewood Road. The weather may impact the schedule. This is not a construction project. They had money at the end of the year to do a maintenance job, and they're just milling and resurfacing and updating what they can. Tewksbury Public Schools Spotlight. This week is both National Teacher Appreciation Week and National Nurses Appreciation Week. We wish to take this opportunity to acknowledge our educators and nurses across the Tewksbury Public School District. This week, May 9th, and this Saturday, May 10th, is the 41st Annual District Art Show in Band Chorus Concert. This event is free to the public at the Tewksbury Memorial High School. Details can be found on the TPS district website. Tewksbury Memorial High School PAC is hosting the class of the 2025 all-night long graduation party on June 6th. They are seeking volunteers. If you are interested, please visit the Tewksbury Memorial High School website for more information. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prattman. Welcome to the Tewksbury Annual Town Meeting. As we begin our meeting, I want to take a moment to talk about the ground rules. A town meeting is the legislative body for our community where we work together to debate the merits of the articles within the warrant before you. Please take a moment to refer to the glossary of terms on the back of your warrant. Because Tewksbury has an open town meeting, each registered voter in Tewksbury is eligible to act on fiscal issues, zoning changes, bylaw amendments, and other matters affecting the town. Voters must wear the voting ribbon conspicuously to be counted during standing votes. Please ensure that it is on your person and not your jacket. This meeting is being recorded. As we move through the articles, presenters or sponsors of the articles will be allowed to speak first before I open the floor to debate. A voter desiring to speak should approach the microphone, await recognition by me, and identify yourself when recognized by name and address for the record. I ask members of the boards to do the same. Each speaker is allowed for up to 5 minutes to speak on an article. Please speak clearly into the microphone so the body can hear you. I will let you know when you have 30 seconds left on your time by tapping the podium. When you hear that tapping, this is your signal to wrap up your remarks. Speakers can disagree with any official, with any other voter, volunteer, or any board. We have a strong tradition in Tewksbury of maintaining a respectful dialogue during town meeting. I will do everything I can to ensure that each speaker is shown respect and that your questions are answered. I ask that all participants kindly do the same. Residents refusing to conduct themselves in a manner befitting this body will be asked to cede the floor and potentially be escorted from the meeting. I hope I don't have to enforce that rule. Let's work together to address the issues before this body fairly and efficiently. I will accept a motion to move the question. However, I reserve the right to make sure we have had some dialogue about the motion. All questions on the floor are to be directed to the moderator. If you're amending an article, you must present it to the town clerk in writing. We will vote on the amendment first. If the amendment passes, it will become part of the main motion, and we will discuss it. If the amendment does not pass, then we would go back to the main motion as it is written in the warrant. When you came in tonight, you were given a warrant with the articles we will be discussing, along with a handout with the Finance Committee recommendations and supplemental handout from the town manager with detailed explanations for several articles and funds. Scrivener's errors are also noted in that document. I do have one additional Scrivener's error that we need to point out. On Article 13, under the new administration vehicle for $160,000, that should read 2 new administration vehicles. The price is not changing. There are just 2 vehicles for that price, thankfully. The town manager's handout also contains that error. So they're going to be, for that particular article, they're getting 2 vehicles for the price of $160,000. At this time, please silence your cell phones and ensure your voter ribbon is showing so that counters can easily see it when we do standing counts. When we do a standing count, it is important that you pay attention to your counter and sit down once counted. Your counter will nod to you when you are counted. If we have anyone in the auditorium who is not a registered voter here in Tewksbury, I wish to welcome you to town meeting and hope that you enjoy this process. Visitors may attend the meeting and sit only in the reserved for visitors section. Media may sit in the visitors section or at the press table. For all of you that attend faithfully, I thank you for your continued presence this evening and your commitment and involvement to this community. Sitting up here are the various boards of the town with elected and appointed members, including the Select Board, Town Council, the Planning Board, the Board of Health, department heads, the Finance Committee, the School Committee, Library Trustees, and the Shawshene Technical School Committee, and the Housing Authority. Please allow me to introduce the Chairman of the Finance Committee, Mr. Richard Levasseur. Mr. Levasseur will make the first motion on every article unless the Finance Committee defers to another board. Mr. Levasseur, may I hear a motion to waive the reading of the warrant articles?
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to waive the reading of the warrant articles.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted unanimously. Non-voters are not allowed to address the meeting without prior consent. Typically, we hear from non-voters who are employees, volunteers, or advisors to the town. Mr. Levasseur, may I have a motion to permit the following persons to address the meeting? Non-voter appointed members of any town or regional committees or task forces, non-voter employees of the town of Tewksbury, including the Tewksbury Public Schools and Town Council.
Mr. Moderator, I move to allow certain anticipated non-residents to speak on issues, including Town Manager John Curran, Assistant Town Manager Steve Sadwick, Fire Chief Joe Kearns, School Business Manager David Libby, DPW Superintendent Kevin Hardiman, Town Engineer Andrew Stack, Town Council Kevin Feely, Shawshene Tech Superintendent Tony McIntosh, Shawshene Tech Business Manager Jenna Lesko, and others, some of whom may be asked to answer resident questions.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's adopted unanimously. If there are any other non-voters with us tonight, they may only speak upon further motion and consent of the meeting. If you are a visitor to town meeting and would like to speak on an article during the debate, please come to the microphone, introduce yourself with your name and address, and I will hold a brief vote before you begin. Non-voters, if you are currently seated in the voter section, please relocate to the visitor section at this time. Please note tonight's agenda covers Articles 1 through 21, as well as the consent calendar Articles 3-22 through 3-25. The zoning amendments are scheduled for Wednesday's annual town meeting to be held this Wednesday, May 8th at 7:30 p.m. after the special town meeting at 7 o'clock. The zoning bylaw articles are numbered 26 through 33, starting on page 24 of your warrant. Please join us on Wednesday for those items. Article 1. The annual town election was held on April 5th, 2025. 2,102 voters representing 8.1% of registered voters cast ballots in the election. Elected this year were Mark Kratman and Richard Russo to the Select Board, Caleb Bagioni-Smith and James Gutellis to the School Committee, James Duffy and Karen DeFrucia to the Planning Board, Susan Amato, Melissa Braga, and Pamela Lefebvre to the Board of Health, Julie Naughton and Joni McCreary to the Board of Library Trustees, John Lombardo to the Housing Authority, and Patricia Muse to the Shawshene Valley Technical High School Committee. Since these town officers were chosen during the election, the town meeting does not vote on Article 1. Section 2, Article 2. Mr. Levasseur, may I have the first motion on the articles?
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 2.
Do I see anyone rising to debate Article 2? Seeing none, we'll move to a voice vote. All those in favor of adoption of Article 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Articles adopted unanimously. Article 3. This brings us to the 4 articles of the consent calendar. There's our scrivener's errors on pages 3, 4, and 5 of your warrant, where the consent calendar article numbers should read 3-22, 3-23, 3-24, and 3-25. Again, they should read 3-22, 3-23, 3-24, and 3-25. Mr. Levasseur, do I have a motion on the consent calendar articles?
Mr. Moderator, I move to adopt the consent calendar.
calendar articles 3-22, 3-23, 3-24, and 3-25.
Thank you, Mr. Levasseur. I will call out the numbers of the articles one by one. If any voter objects to any particular article being included in the consent calendar, they should say the word hold when the number is called. The article is then removed from the consent calendar and restored to its original numbered place in the warrant. After calling the individual items, I will hold a vote on all remaining items as a unit. Article 3-22. Excuse me one second. I want to read the titles as I do this. To hear and act upon reports of the various town officers or take any action relative to thereto. Article 3-23. Hold. I hear hold on 3-23, which is the authorization of the town manager to enter into lease purchase agreements up to 5 years. Article 3-24, regarding the Chapter 90 funds. And 3-25. Do I hear hold on 3-25? 3-25. Just to be clear, if you called hold on 3-23, that is the town manager to enter into lease purchase agreements. That was held. And 3-25, which is the table on page 6.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
so the Chapter 90, Laura Kaplan, 11 Lanaka Road. So the article that was 3-23, which references Chapter 90 funds, is actually Article 3-24.
Correct.
May I change to say hold to that?
I'm going to read them one more
Because I misunderstood
time.
what you said earlier, and that's on me and not on you, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, just to be clear, I thought that was what would happen. I thought that's what happened. So let me go
No,
through
when you said Article 3-23, I was interpreting that to be Chapter 90,
I understand.
and it isn't. You said it's 3-24.
Correct. So the Chapter 90 originally in your warrant is 3-23. In reality, that is 3-24. There was a
Right.
scrivener's error on those four.
So may I say, can we please hold for the new announcement today that Article 3-24 is on hold, which is the Chapter 90 funds?
You may. I'm going to read through them one more time.
Thank you.
I'm going to read through them one more time. And if you could say hold on the relevant ones. Again, if you're taking notes, please change them from 21 through 23, change them to 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. One last time. 3-22. I hear no holds on 3-22. 3-23. I now hear no holds on 3-23. 3-24.
Hold.
I hear a hold on 3-24. And 3-25. Okay, we have holds on 3-24 and 3-25. So those will be moved to near the end of this evening's proceedings to their original place in the warrant. Consent calendar articles 3-22 and 3-23. All those in favor of the adoption, no, I can go ahead, sorry. All those in favor of the adoption of Articles 3-22 and 3-23 as corrected, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent calendar containing Articles 3-22 and 3-23 as corrected are adopted unanimously. Thank you. Thanks for bearing with me on that one. Article 4. Article 4 on page 6 of your warrant contains our proposed annual budget. For expediency of debate, I will read the titles for each section in order. If anyone wishes to debate the contents of a particular section, please reply "debate" when the title is read. We will then debate the sections in order. When the debate on all sections is concluded, we will proceed with the amendments and vote on Article 4. Again, please, if you wish to debate a particular section, please say "debate" loudly when I read the heading. Page 6, General Government. Finance Department on page 7. Page 8, Community Services. Council on Aging. Page 9, Facilities. Library. Planning and Development. Page 10, Public Safety. School Departments. Page 11 and 12, Department of Public Works. And on page 13, Unclassified. I did not hear the word debate on any of those titles.
We're trying to find the pages.
You're off by one. So when you said page 9, page Arkansas for actually page 10. So people are having trouble finding what they're supposed to do.
General Government is on, okay, I'll do it from the warrant. Okay. I'm hoping this is going to go quick because nobody requested debate, but I'd rather do it right. So I'm going to use the warrant itself instead of the previous plan, and we'll go through them one more time. Page 7, General Government. Page 8, Finance Department. Page 9, Community Services. Page 9, Council on Aging. Page 10, Facilities. Page 10, Library. Page 10, Planning and Development. 11, Public Safety. School Departments. Pages 12 and 13, Department of Public Works. Finally, page 14, Unclassified. Hearing no debate, thank you for raising that point about the organization. Again, hearing no debate, do I hear any objection to moving to a vote on Article 4? All right, Mr. Levasseur, may I hear a motion on Article 4?
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt the FY26 general budget in the amount of $145.
Cannot hear him.
Yeah, Mike, which you might want to get.
Where's my guy? How about now? Still nothing. They took my microphone away.
They swapped it with the bad one.
Swapped it out with a bad one.
Would you come try and address the microphone, please? All the other mics are wired. Sorry. His microphone's not picking them up.
Thank you.
How about now? Finance Committee moves to adopt the FY26 general fund budget in the amount of $145,418,000 $1,104.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear the motion is adopted, not unanimously. Article 5. Mr. Levasseur.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 5. Raise, appropriate, and transfer from available funds the sum of $7,205,030 to operate the Sewer Enterprise Fund.
Do I see anyone rising for debate? Thank you for coming. Make sure you state your name and address.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's Michelle Lee, 615 North Street. So I have a question about Article 5. It relates to the previous articles. Basically, what I'm seeing here is that for years and years, we have approved the Sewer Enterprise Fund and the Water Enterprise Funds for water and sewer reparations, et cetera. And yet we are spending a lot of money towards salaries in this. And then in subsequent articles, we are appropriating money for the water and sewer repairs, meters, et cetera, by raising more money, raising taxes on the water, et cetera. So I'm confused to why it is okay to use those two funds that we have been funding for years and years and years to offset salary increases, some of which are in the, and it could be because there's more people that are being hired, I don't know, but some of these increases are in the area of 50%, 25%. We've got a $72,000 increase in salary on computer services. These are all on the Article 4, but I wanted to bring it up on Article 5 because that's where we are now, and it's talking about all these salary increases that we are spending from the Water Enterprise Fund. So I'm not understanding why we do that, and then we go ahead and raise the water rates, and also not use the funds that we've appropriated for that for those water meters and all those improvements that we're looking to do.
Thank you. Mr. Town Manager, Mr. Kerman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think what you're referring to is the indirect costs that are spread out through the general budget associated with water and sewer. So the way water and sewer funds are set up is they're intended to be independently funded by water and sewer fees. In this case, we have an independent water enterprise fund, an independent sewer enterprise fund. Some communities combine them, water and sewer together. That's not the case here. So what happens is it pays for all of the services and capital related to water services in the town of Tewksbury. Part of those services includes the services of different employees that are outside of the water department that dedicate their time to water and sewer services. For example, in the DPW billing department, they spend a certain amount of time sending out bills for water and sewer. So that portion of their salary is allocated towards water as or sewer as an indirect cost. And those indirect costs, they stay pretty consistent year over year. So, for example, like my position, I probably dedicate, I don't know what it is, don't have it in front of me, but let's say it's about 1 or 2% of my time. So that would be 2% of my salary would be allocated towards water and sewer. Now that generally stays the same over time. The only way it will change is if there's something material that changes, that for some reason we're dedicating more time to that service. And then the biggest portion of indirects is those other things like Medicare, health care, and those costs that are carried in the general budget, but they're imposed by the existence of employees within the water and sewer enterprise fund. So indirect costs are an allocation of the resources that are used in water and sewer, and they need to be paid for by the water and sewer fees. So we tabulate what those indirect costs are and include them in the budget and the revenue projection for water and sewer. Does that help?
Helps a little bit. One of the things I've noticed is that some of these salary increases are quite substantial. It'd be nice to see what the breakdown is of these increases, because the water and sewer prices in this town have increased substantially every year. And I know the book says we haven't had an increase in about 3 years, but that 3-year increase that was 3 years ago was pretty substantial. And I also saw in the book that we're going to have another increase in FY25, so this year, on water and sewer. And that unfortunately affects the single homeowner tremendously, but yet I see some pretty heavy salary increases going on. I know my salary hasn't increased in that way, and I understand now that you're using those funds to support all the rest of the departments, but it looks like we have most of our departments and salaries being supported by the Water Sewer Enterprise Funds, which were all voted on in town meetings for us to fix our sewer and fix our water issues. So that's just my comment on that. So I understand what you're saying, but thank you for clarifying. I don't necessarily agree with how the funds are being appropriated, but that's just my opinion.
So, and just for your edification, I know that the select board this year did use some funds, stabilization funds, in water in water primarily, to decrease the increase over time to help relieve the burden of the taxpayer or the ratepayer in this instance.
Okay.
So they are aware of those things, and there is a plan moving forward to try to keep the rate increase for sewer roughly around 2%, and try to get the water increase down to 3% when we're investing $6 million a year additionally each year in water distribution improvements, because I know people are concerned about the number of water breaks and the impact that has on water quality. So it's a tough balance, but we try to invest in the infrastructure and try to use other tools to decrease the impact on the ratepayer, because it otherwise would have been 11.5% this year. We reduced it down to 6% for this year.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all the hard work that the Finance Committee does on putting all this together. My recommendation would be to break out the salary increases as well, so we as the taxpayers in this town know where all the money's going, because just a general salaries category does not really break down. If we're hiring more employees or things like that, and there's increases that are associated with it, that's great. But that amount of detail isn't in here, and it's not in the book either. It just says salaries. So that indicates to us that they're just increasing, and we're paying for it, and then we're going to borrow money to fix the issues that we have with our water, sewer, and our stormwater. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for speaking. Article 5. Do I see any other additional debate on Article 5? Seeing no one rise. All in favor of the adoption of Article 5, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The article is adopted, not unanimously. Article 6. Mr. LeBusser.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 6, transfer and appropriate from overlay surplus $400,000 to the Water Enterprise Fund for FY26 and FY27.
I see any debate on Article 6. Sir? Please state your name and address.
Charlie Anzoni, 180 Mitchell G. Just a little clarification on this. Is this, once this goes away, does that mean that we're going to get an 11.5% charge on the fees? Because this here is going to bring it down to 6. Then I heard the town manager say 3. So I'm just concerned what we're trying to do here. Because I know in other years we've done different things. If there was a deficit, it was rolled over. The Board of Selectmen rolled it over into the main budget. So basically, why are we doing it this way this year? And the other thing is, if we go over and we do have a deficit, which we might have, according to what, as far as the chemicals in the water, those are supposed to go through the roof. A lot of extra charges coming in that probably are not baked in here. So I'm just want to know what the plan going forward is. Where's all the money coming from? Because in past years, they won't take it out of the retained earnings, and they won't take it out of the stabilization fund. They use the old one-time only. So I'm just concerned I'm sure they've talked about this, what their plan going forward is. And then what can the homeowner expect? What's the worst case scenario here?
Thank you. Mr. Kern? If you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That's a great question. It's right up my alley. This is what I think is important about public finance. It's planning for the future. And the board was very concerned about this, particularly in the next 2 years. So we have a situation where, because we're investing so much money in infrastructure, it was going to have an impact of about 11.5% on the rate over the next 2 years. So to buffer that, we're using this warrant article, and you notice in the warrant article after this, there's another $400,000 coming from stabilization. Those two appropriations, 400 and 400, a total of 800, will be used to reduce the rate in FY26 and FY27. But you very astutely said, well, what happens after that? So we want to make sure that there's consistency and stability in the rate in the future. And what's happening after FY27 is there is a portion of sewer debt that is being funded through the general fund, and it's an amount that was used for sewer debt. That amount will now be used for water debt. Won't go away, but it won't impact the rates. So what happens there is that by doing that, it's being absorbed by that resource that we're already levying, and then that allows us to keep the rate down and closer to 3% out into the future. Now, I can't say for certain that's the case, but using projections over the next 10 years, these next 2 years will be roughly 6%, and then reduce from there in the neighborhood of 3%, which isn't bad considering you're adding $5 million in bond authorization each year moving out into the future.
Well, I understand that 5.4 million is going to become part of exempt debt, so it wouldn't even show up in the water funds if it's an exempt debt. Am I correct on that?
So a portion of it will, but the portion that won't show up is the portion that we're using, the amount we've been using in the levy for sewer debt that is now going away. It's going away over the next 5 years. So think of it this way. I don't know the exact numbers, but if the number was $500,000 for sewer debt and it decreased by $100,000, that $100,000 is being dedicated to water debt. And then it decreases again the next year. That's moved to water debt. And then so you don't see a decrease in, the bad news is you don't see a decrease in the levy, but the good news is you don't see an increase in your water rates. And it's something that the taxpayer is used to. It's consistency, which I think, taxpayers always want taxes to be reduced, but one thing they also like is predictability and stability, and I think that's what this plan provides.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional debate on Article 6? Seeing no one rise. All in favor of the adoption of Article 6, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 6 is adopted, not unanimously. Article 7.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 7, transfer and appropriate from overlay surplus $400,000 to the Water Enterprise Fund for for FY '26 and FY '27.
Any debate on Article 7? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 7, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 7 is adopted, not unanimously. Article 8.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 8, raise and appropriate $779,800 to operate the Stormwater Enterprise Fund.
Any debate on Article 8? Seeing none? Seeing no one rise? All those in favor of the adoption of Article 8, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 8 is adopted, not unanimously. Article 9, Mr. Lavasser.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 9, raise and appropriate $484,120 to operate the Cable TV Enterprise Fund.
Any debate on Article 9? Yes, ma'am.
Laura Kaplan, 11 Lanaka Road. So my question is in regards to the projected cable TV in general. I made several phone calls this past summer during the Memorial Day time period because I noticed we can't view the parade at all. So people that are ill and cannot attend in person, especially our veterans, if they don't have transportation and they don't have means to get there. They inform me they do not have the infrastructure to film the parade for those that are unable to attend in person. So I'm wondering if this revenue here that we're appropriating is going to include that. Because I feel, as a resident in Tewksbury that's always enjoyed viewing and supporting our veterans that do march in our parade, if you're unable to attend in person, you should be able to view it for our local cable. And we do not. They can film the football games, but they can't film the parade. And I wondered why. And if this Article 9 can address that issue.
Thank you. Mr. Kern, would you care to address whether or not we can use some of these funds to film the Memorial Day parade, please?
It's not really a question of the funds. It's a question, as the answer you got last year, which was the infrastructure. The football games is a live drop. There's a drop in that area that they can hook up and film live. The Memorial Parade, because there's no drop out there, they can't film live. They could probably record it, but they can't film it live. And I think that's what you're asking. So in order to do that, we'd have to bring fiber out to some area, and I guess they would have to be able to do that. We could look into that in the future, but it's probably not something that can happen this Memorial Day.
Well, what I was told was there's no infrastructure because there's not a sufficient amount of revenue to improve the infrastructure. So it kind of coincides, right? For us to have the infrastructure, we would need the revenue in order to improve upon it, correct?
Well, it's just, I mean, I'm obviously new to the game, but my guess is that it probably wasn't looked at because, you know, to bring a drop out for one location to use it once a year, probably there wasn't a justification to do it. I mean, I will revisit it. I mean, I'm the new person in town, so maybe I have a different perspective. I'll look at it and see if that's something we can do in the future and what it would take to fund it.
So us voting on this raise and appropriate the sum of $484,000 is not going to be utilized at all for any improvements for our cable.
No, there is actually improvements. There's improvements in here for the Ella Fleming School to put cable things in that new renovation. But it's just a matter of time and money. We couldn't get that done for this Memorial Day, but we will look into it for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other debate on Article 9? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 9, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 9 is adopted unanimously. Article 10, Mr. Lavasser.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 10 and transfer $31,750 from bond premiums to reduce town exempt debt principal.
Any debate on Article 10? Seeing no one rise, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 10, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 10 is adopted unanimously. Article 11.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt the FY26 Affordable Housing Trust Fund Allocation Plan.
Any debate on Article 11? Yes, ma'am.
Michelle Lee, 615 North Street. I have some questions on this article. It says that we had an Acts of 2003, Chapter 105 of the Acts of 2003. Is that a Massachusetts Act or is that Tewksbury?
That's a Massachusetts.
And so they are recommending that we have a certain amount in this fund.
I'm sorry? Yes, please, Mr. Kern.
So that's not what they're recommending in the state. This is what we actually have. We have this balance in that account, and each year you have to reestablish that through this plan, which is a statutory requirement of the state level.
Okay, so this isn't a new amount of...
No, this is just, it's the amount that's in the trust fund now.
Okay.
And we have to establish a plan, and basically this is saying we have $5.6 million, and it can be used to create new units, and the total project expenses can't exceed $5.6 million.
Okay, all right, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Any other debate on Article 11? Seeing none, all those in favor of adoption of Article 11, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 11 is adopted unanimously. Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt the article.
Any debate on Article 12? Seeing no one rise, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 12, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 12 is adopted unanimously. Article 13.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 13 and transfer $1,985,066 from the Stabilization Fund for capital equipment and one-time expenditures.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, Joe Gill, 12 Ellington Road. I question the use of that fund for that purpose. I was of the understanding that this was supposed to be used for emergencies. And in my opinion, the items listed in this budget should be within the budget of the departments. So I need an explanation why we're using the stabilization fund.
Question on why we're using the stabilization fund for the purposes of this article. Mr. Kern, would you care to address, please?
So this is a practice, a fiscal practice that has been in place since before I got here, and I chose it to continue doing it this way. And what the prior manager did was you take the money out of stabilization fund and then replenish it with free cash before in the next town meeting, which will be in the fall. And that's important because it preserves our credit rating, because it will be replenished before the next audit cycle. And the other thing that this allows us to do is to get projects moving and get things done sooner rather than later, and rather than waiting till the fall to have free cash certified and do it at that time.
I respectfully disagree. When I was on the Selectmen and the Finance Committee, we used the stabilization fund just for that, for the rainy day when we didn't have any money to fund the regular government. And that was just my understanding. We didn't use it for anything else but.
Well, stabilization funds can be used for one-time expenditures, and that's what generally accepted accounting
You
principles
don't think
are.
these things should be in the budget? Each department's
Well,
budget?
they're outside the budget because they're in these warrant articles, but they're one-time expenditures. I don't think they should be in the budget. Reoccurring expenses go in the budget.
Equipment should be within the
Equipment of
budget?
this size that you don't buy every year, it makes sense to fund them outside of the general operating
I
budget.
respectfully disagree. This is phony
Thank you.
budgeting.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Any other debate on Article 13? I see you, sir. Your name and address, please.
Chen Huang from 21 Emerald Court. Okay, the Article 13.
I'm sorry, could you just try and keep really
21.
close to the microphone so everybody can hear you?
You hear me now?
A little better, yeah.
Okay. Chen Huang from 21 Emerald Court. Okay. The Article 13 on the fire section description shows new ambulance and equipment for $450,000. How many new ambulance or fire engine truck will be increased?
Mr. Curran, would you care to address under new ambulance and equipment, how many, I believe the question was phrased, how many new ambulances and what fire equipment are under that?
So, make sure I understood the question. You want to know how many new ambulances we're buying?
Yes, how many new ambulance? Because this description shows new ambulance and equipment. How many new ambulance?
There's one new ambulance that we're buying for $450,000.
Okay.
And what was the other part of the question?
Any new fire engine truck will be increased under the fund?
There are no new fire engines in this.
No.
Nothing in this warrant article. There is a fire station renovation study, but no other new fire equipment.
I think this amount appropriate for this fire and the ambulance was way too low.
450,000
Yeah, I think it should be increased probably 10 times, maybe even 20 times more.
for an ambulance?
Because I saw that Finance Committee recommend adopt the Article 30, the zoning bylaw, to add, to allow the battery farm to be built. Do you think this will be
I understand,
engine?
yes.
Do you think the current engine or ambulance we're going to increase will be enough, will be sufficient to deal with this kind of issue later on?
I'm not sure that's inside the scope of this article, but this is to buy one ambulance.
But this is the time we appropriate. We say we adopt, we're going to approve the zoning bylaw to build a battery farm. But we do not.
Sir,
We did not appropriate enough funds for the fire and ambulance.
Sir, this article does specifically call out $450,000 for new ambulance and fire equipment. Beyond that, if you believe it's too little for our current needs, that's fine. But I would caution you or ask you to keep your debate focused on the contents of Article 13 as it's written. as opposed to pulling in additional articles which may or may not be coming up, may or may not be voted on, adopted, rejected, etc.
So that time, so the finance committee appropriate say, okay, we're going to increase the fire, but not deal the problem on the, not deal the potential issue on the Article 30.
The Finance Committee recommendation, Article 13, is 4-0 in favor of adoption. And the article, the zoning bylaw,
30
is outside. We can get into the scope of that particular article and the recommendations when we get to that article.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Article 13. Yes, sir.
Bob McKenna, Oregon Road, Tewksbury. Could somebody explain what a $102,100 anti-ligature toilet and sink replacement is? It seems like a lot of money for a toilet and a sink, $100,000+.
It does. It does seem like a lot. And we've received this question before. So it's actually 11 toilets and sinks for sale. And if you probably watched any prison movie, you see they're stainless steel toilets with the sink is on top of them. They're very expensive. They're about $11,000 a pop, and that's why the appropriation is so much, because it costs that much to replace those very special toilets.
Okay, so what you're saying, this isn't one toilet, it's 11 toilets?
Yes.
In 11 holding cells for people being held?
Yes. So the state, in the description in the warrant book, if you look at it, the state said that those needed to be updated. I mean, the station's, I think, 20 years old, and they're basically required to be updated. And so that's what we're trying to do. We've fixed one to date, and we need to do the other 11. So,
Are they not working?
No, they're just out of code, and they need to be replaced.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, could I get your name and address for the records? I think I missed it. You might have stated.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I said it at the beginning. Maybe you didn't hear. Bob McKenna, Oregon Road.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Article 13, additional debate. If you wouldn't mind letting thank you.
Hi, Taylor Goodrow on Breckenridge Road. So in addition to the question on the anti-ligature toilet, it was just mentioned that they're like $11K a pop, but I was just looking into them because I didn't know what they were, and Walmart has them for like $3K, and I know it's Walmart, but I'm just curious as to why they're 11 grand each, and if we're getting quotes from multiple places, like that seems to be a pretty significant difference in price. Granted, I know it is Walmart, so.
Thank you. Mr. Kern, would you care?
There's certain specification that we have to adhere to, and that's required, state requirements, and the quote we got based on that was $11,000 per unit. So I mean, we can't buy toilets at Walmart.
Mr. Kern, excuse me. Do you have your voter ribbon on you?
Wait, what?
Your vote, not you.
Oh.
Speaker. Thank you. If you could wear that a little higher when we come time, and we're going to do a standing count on this. It's real important that the counters can quickly get around. So if you could put it maybe at least on your shoulder, I'd appreciate it. And I'm sorry, your address again?
100 Breckenridge Road.
Thank you.
So this 11,000, is it just for the toilet, or is that for the installation? Like, is that with the labor charge as well?
That's the labor as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to bother everybody again on sidewalks on Article 13, but just...
Could I get you just to state
Oh,
your
I'm
name?
sorry. Laura Kaplan, 11 Lanaka Road.
Thank you, Ms. Kaplan.
Sorry. Article 13, the sidewalk reconstruction for $250,000. I don't recall it ever being taken out of the stabilization fund before, because I know we have the beloved Chapter 90 funds. So my question is, one, is this new this year? Will this continue each year? And two, where are the roads that are going to be reconstructed for sidewalks in Tewksbury? I'm just curious.
So it has been used from general fund money in the past. It's $250,000. I believe it was initiated when they did the PED master plan, pedestrian master plan, and they made basically a policy decision to spend $250,000. And yes, it has been appropriated. I'm not sure if it was free cash stabilization last year, but it was definitely not Chapter 90. It was appropriated from general fund monies. And there was a second part of your question. Oh, where was that? Where was that work going to be done? It was Whipple Road, from Ferncroft Road to Pine Street.
Okay, thank you. And that's all, those
Yes.
those two areas?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sidewalks are expensive.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Bob McKenna, Oregon Road. To come back to the $102,000 for the toilet and sink, you said they're $11,000 apiece. That still seems like an awful lot of money, and I'd like to know, was that put out for open bid? How did we decide that we need $11,000 per toilet and sink for each person that's been locked up overnight waiting to go to the courthouse or whatever?
I believe it was off the state contract list. Yes, so state contract list bids these things out, and then we use that state contract list. So yes, it did go through a bidding process.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
guess not to be a pain in the neck, but $100,000 for toilets and sinks, I know we have a big budget, but it seems like some of that's a waste of money. Is there any way to table this and make sure that it's been thoughtfully, completely looked at? Or, you know, people might think I'm nitpicking, but I'm wondering, could we save 50 grand here and use it towards an extra policeman or fireman's partial salary? I'd much rather see an extra firefighter or police fighter than an extra fancy toilet for someone that's locked up overnight.
Well, I mean, I agree with that, but these are one-time funds, so you couldn't turn around and use these funds to fund reoccurring expenses like another police officer. But I mean, I would just ask you to take at face value the work that's being done by the professionals that work for the town, and also what the state's requiring, which is they're requiring us to replace these toilets.
So you're saying the state's ordering you to get this specific
Right.
toilet and sink?
These facilities across the state are inspected by the state, and they come in and they say, you know, in this case, that these need to be replaced.
All right. I don't know if I'm the only one. It just doesn't seem right. It seems like a little bit of a waste of money, but thank you for answering my question.
It's like flushing money down the toilet, right?
Thank you for that, Mr. Curran. Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Jessica Randolph, 1484 Andover Street. I agree that the toilet thing is out of control. I would like to know, what are the new administrative vehicles, the two for $160,000?
Mr. Curran, the question is, what are the new administration vehicles for $160,000?
I'd like to know what an $80,000 vehicle looks like.
So they're both SUVs. One, at least one of them's a larger one. They're replacing Car 3 and Car 44. They're replacing a vehicle that's been in service for 5 years. It's 60,000 miles. That one will be reassigned within the fleet. They're both command vehicles. And the second one will be replacing a 2014 Explorer that has 120,000 miles on it. So they are SUVs, and
I'm not really interested in the mileage on the vehicle. I've been shopping for a vehicle myself, and while I'm not interested in SUV, I can see what prices are. What kind of SUV are we looking to buy for $80,000?
Well, I believe there's other equipment inside the SUVs that they need to be equipped with because they're command vehicles, but I could ask the chief.
Do we know what brand this is? I mean, is this a Lexus RX? What are we doing here?
And I'm going to ask the fire chief to come up and elaborate on the specifications of the two vehicles.
Chief Kearns, if you would, please.
Sure. Hi. The first vehicle will be either a Suburban or Expedition, which also includes the radios and lights for it. The radio setup for that is a command vehicle, so it needs radios in the front and the back. So that is going to be around $100,000 at the end of the day for that. The other vehicle will be a Ford Explorer with lights and radios also in that, and we're hoping to get that around $60,000. So the bigger price item is the command vehicle and the necessity for the radios and other equipment needed for that vehicle.
Thank you for the clarification, and I do appreciate your services.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other debate? Yes, ma'am.
Don't go away yet. Cynthia Bliss, 61 Shiva Circle.
Hi,
It was
Cynthia.
mentioned the first of the vehicles being replaced was on the order of 5 years old and had 60,000 miles on it. Is that correct?
The first vehicle is right now running as a command vehicle, which is the lifespan for those to run as a frontline vehicle is 5 years. So it has between 60 and 70,000 miles, but it's not the typical 60 or 70,000 miles that most vehicles have. It's 60 and 70,000 of very hard miles on it. So that's why in the plan that we have to replace vehicles, that vehicle is up for replacement. It's not going to go completely out of service. The fire prevention officer will be taking that vehicle and continue to use it. It just won't be a first-run emergency vehicle.
Okay, but it still will be used by the town. Because I was just thinking, I drive a 4-year-old vehicle with 90,000 miles on it, and it's a lot of hard miles. It's not quite as hard as yours, but I'm off-road and I'm driving, I drove 250 miles today.
No, I understand that. No, that vehicle is going to be reused by another day staff person at that time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Last call for Article 13. All right. Now, Article 13 requires a 2/3 vote. We will take the vote in reverse standing order. For efficiency, we're going to do this in reverse. All those opposed to Article 13, please stand at this time. Make sure your ribbons are showing. Counters, would you please count? Come on up. This is opposition to the adoption of Article 13. All those opposed, please stand. Make good eye contact with your counter so you both agree you've been counted.
Let me guess. Let me guess.
All set? All those in favor of the adoption of Article 13, please stand and be counted at this time. Make good eye contact with your counter, and when they acknowledge you, be seated. requiring 2/3 for adoption. The nays are 18. The yeas are 78. 64 is required for adoption. The article is adopted. Mr. Levasseur, may I have a motion on Article 14, please?
Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 14. Transfer $123,178 for equipment, facility improvements, one-time expenditures.
Do I see anyone rising to debate Article 14? Seeing no movement. Article 14 will also require a 2/3 vote. Again, we will do this in reverse standing order. All those opposed to Article 14, please stand and be counted at this time. If you're standing in opposition, would you please make a relatively loud noise? All those in favor of adoption of Article 14, please stand and be counted. Stand at this time. Article 14 is adopted unanimously. Counters, you can go have a seat. That's why I do that in reverse order. Article 15, Mr. Levasseur.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 15, transfer $300,000 from overlay surplus to conduct a school facility study.
Article 15. Anyone standing for debate? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so Michelle Lee, North Street.
Hi, Michelle.
I want to know who the School Facilities Study Committee will be. Does that exist?
Question is, who will the School Facilities Study Committee be? Who will that consist of? Mr. Kern? Do you know?
Who it will be when this is passed? It's the same committee that exists now, and part of this is to basically extend their task until the study is complete.
Who's that? Study engineers, planning board?
It's on it's available on the website. I can't list name for name, but we could get that for you.
It's one person?
No, it's members of the school. There are some school teachers on there.
Okay.
There are some select board members on there. There are former people that participate in town government, but there are no hired consultants yet. That's what this article will be for.
Okay, so the study is going to cost $300,000 to conduct a study to explore options to meet current and future educational needs of the town. We just built two schools recently, correct?
Yes.
Okay, spent a lot of money on that. I'm sure there were a lot of studies for that, supposedly for our future. And then it's going to reflect in providing a tool that will help the community develop a comprehensive school facilities plan that will provide the most educationally appropriate and cost-efficient solution for the educational facilities needs of the community. Not to be, what kind of tool are we talking about? An Excel spreadsheet maybe that we put numbers in and we go ahead and decide what we're going to do for the future? I don't know. That's a lot of money for a tool and a lot of wordage that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It almost sounds like one of those, and I hate to say this, like one of those Doge studies that we've just come up with. So it's a little vague, in my opinion.
So
$300,000.
I'm sorry for the vagueness of it, but that's the nature of these things. And it's like you alluded to, that the town did studies prior to building these other schools. So providing tools is, you'll have a firm come in here that will help you use your population data, the condition of your schools, and give you options based on what some of the desires are of the community. So it isn't just we're going to tell you what to do. It's what does the community want to do, and these are some of your options. These are some of the things to stay away from. It's just something that, it's a report, not an Excel spreadsheet. It would be a comprehensive report on the conditions of the current facilities, the program needs of the town, and based on the population projections as well. And it'll provide a report to the community to help the community make a decision in which way to proceed with major facility programs moving forward.
So the $300,000 are going to people that are already working in our school system, et cetera?
No, they're going to, you will have to do an RFP to engage a consultant to come in and help us with this.
Okay, so the people that are involved on the committee are not able to do that themselves, and so we are going to have to get people to come in and engage.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Your
Bob McKenna.
Questions on Article 15, Bob?
Yep, Bob McKenna, Oregon Road. I want to follow up on the lady before me. $300,000 for a study. Didn't this study go last year and we're continuing again this year?
So
can you clarify that for me?
Last year there was a committee that was put together with a task to decide how to move forward, and this is ultimately what the committee decided to do, which is to bring in an independent consultant to come in and help the town to make decisions on major facility improvements moving forward.
And did we spend $300,000 last year?
No, we didn't spend a dime.
We didn't spend a dime last year.
Right.
But you're recommending $300,000 on how we'll go forward with schools? And who is going to get paid this $300,000? How's that going to be split up?
It would be a consultant, or probably either design or engineering firm that would come in that does studies like this and helps the community to put together a report to determine what the challenges and obstacles are that face the town in making these decisions. Like I said, the condition of the current facilities, what your population expectations are, and the growth in the student population are moving forward, and then what your needs are. What are your program needs? What are the program needs going to be in 5 years? What are the program needs going to be in 10 years? Just as a point of reference, when you go to the MSBA and you get into the process, they also require a feasibility study, which usually costs well over $1 million as part of the process. So we don't want to spend an infinite amount of money on this. Is just a preliminary study for us to help us move forward and make decisions as a community.
And I guess we've recently, in the last few years, we've built 2 new schools. Weren't there studies done then that would have covered all of the schools in town? I'm asking, why are we spending $300,000 now? Didn't we get some answers when they looked at?
So they did have studies that were done, but now those studies are quite old now. They're older than 10 years at this point, and they will use that information from studies, master plans that the town has, and they'll use some of that stuff and not recreate the wheel, as well as population information that is already available to us. They'll use those things, but those master plans or feasibility studies, they, after 10 years, you need to re-examine things.
All right. I guess I'm just concerned it's another $300,000, and I think we need to save money in some places. That's why I'm questioning these little things.
So one thing I'll tell you is that, and maybe I should have pointed it out at the beginning, is that the money is coming from overlay surplus, which is not. It was declared surplus by the assessors, the Board of Assessors, a few months ago, and so it's not being taken away from the stabilization fund. It's not being taken away from any other resource. It's being used from overlay surplus, and like I should have pointed out earlier, those 2 $400,000 appropriations for rate relief are also from the overlay surplus. So to address your concern, taking it from a source that would, typically be dedicated to something else is not happening here, so.
I don't know. I disagree with the term surplus because we never seem to have enough money for this, that, or the other thing. So it's kind of a misleading term, in my opinion anyway, a surplus when our taxes keep going up for water and for real estate. I don't believe we ever have a surplus, but that's just my opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Russo.
Rich Russo, 20 Plunkett Way. As a member of the Long Range Space Committee, as Mr. Curran, I think, pointed out to the previous residents before me, that committee is made up of 2 select board members, 2 school committee members, 3 residents, 3 community people from the community, as well as parents within the school district. And then there are advisors to that committee, Mr. Curran, previously Mr. Montori, Ms. Regan, Mr. Libby from the school department. And so that committee was formed to assess the long-range space of the schools, not only with space requirements within the schools, just specifically within the building, but also in terms of making sure we're meeting the educational needs of the students that are within those walls. So the committee, again, made up of residents and parents, they don't have the expertise to now say, okay, here's what we think as a community based on the representation that we had, but we don't have the expertise now to say, well, if we were going to put an addition on this school, or if we were going to make some upgrades to another school, we don't know what the engineering requirements will be, what we can physically do with the space that we have, with our parking lots, et cetera. And we stood here a year ago where the school committee, and I was a member of the school committee at that point, where we were asking for money for additional improvements to the Heathbrook School and I believe the Wynn Middle School at the time. And we had a little bit of a debate about that. The Heathbrook and the Dewing School are over 70 years old. Those schools are not going to last forever. So I'm not suggesting that we need a new school today. But what I am suggesting is, in order for us to stop throwing sort of good money after bad, we have to do this study to ultimately figure out what the long-range space is. I think someone also asked about one the last time we did. I think it was 2006 was the last time it was done. We had some updates to that in 2012, because in 2006 it was for an elementary school, and the high school took priority because of the condition of the high school at that time before this building was put up. So that study was done almost 20 years ago now, and so that's what these funds are being sought out for, to allow that committee to then work with other committees in the town, both the school committee, the select board, and ultimately that will come before residents, whatever changes and recommendations come out of that study. So that's all I'll have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Yeah, hi. Randall Bowlby, 15 Mountjoy Drive. And with regard to the study, I'm just curious: is there a time frame after the contract is awarded for the completion of the study?
Is there a time frame in between when the contract is awarded and when the study is to be completed? Mr. Curran.
So that will be set when we do the RFP, but I would expect that work would be done probably before next January.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand what you said.
We will do it if this passes town meeting. We'll move ahead with an RFP. The committee will move ahead with an RFP process, award the work, and the work should not take longer than 6 to 7 months, I would think.
So 6 to 7 months.
Right.
Is what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bob McKenna, Oregon Road.
Bob, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you to Rich for the common sense explanation. It alleviates my concerns. Thank you, Rich. Made sense.
Thanks, Bob. Anyone else rising to debate or discuss Article 15? Seeing none. Yes, ma'am. No, go ahead. We'll do one more, and then I'm going to move the question.
I'm Gail Bartlett, 46 Hill Street, and I have two questions. One is, how does a person become a member of this study committee that's made up of townspeople? And secondly, would one of the recommendations that this committee would create could be something like on the page before, which was the upgrade in the wireless needs in the schools? Is that an example of what the building surplus committee would be trying to do?
Thank you.
Anybody?
So the first part of your question, I think there is actually going to be one vacancy on that committee because Rich Russo just got elected to the select board. And I believe that'll have to be posted. I don't know, it's probably an appointment of one of the boards. If you would like, if you want to, after the meeting, come up and we can take your information if you're interested in that. And then the second part of your question, this committee is created for a specific purpose to address this specific issue. It was created by the select board to address the issue of studying the facilities needs for the future. So it's not like a smaller one area issue like wireless, but it's more of an overall facilities needs, and it was created for one specific purpose.
Okay, because the explanation says that it pertains to things that might be used now for buildings now, and that just seemed to me that maybe now is what we need was an upgraded Wi-Fi system. So this is more futuristic that we're talking
So
about?
I think that line in there, and I remember because I think I wrote it, was intended to say to address the needs, our current needs, and whatever those needs are in the future, recognizing that the future need, we have to build stuff that will accommodate what our future needs are, not just the needs of today.
Okay, all right,
Thank
good, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. At this time, I am going to move the question. Thank you for that final point of debate. Article 15. All those in favor of the adoption of Article 15, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 15 is adopted, not unanimously. Article 16, if you would, sir.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt the article as amended.
Now, Article 16, we do have a published amendment, I believe. Let me pull that out. So on this informational sheet, we have annual town meeting articles that will be amended. You see Articles 16 and 17 are detailed there. Article 16, total cost of the vehicle is increasing by $20,000. And the original estimate was $210. It has increased to $230. This will increase the amount appropriated from water and sewer retained earnings by $10,000 respectively. So what they're looking to purchase between Article 16 and 17 is increasing by 20. So they're splitting that in half and I'm hoping I'm going to get a motion to amend and officially submit that amendment. But since it is published ahead of time, I'm sure it'll come out. Mr. Kern, would you like to issue the amendment to Article 16, please?
Motion to amend Article 16 of the 2025 annual town warrant by increasing the amount appropriated for the F-550 maintain a utility with crane from $105,000 to $115,000, and further amending this article by changing the total sewer appropriation from $775,000 to $785,000.
Okay. So the way we do this is we debate the amendment specifically. So if there's any question regarding the amendment, the increase in price, and the changing the figure from $775,000 to $785,000 accordingly, I will hear debate at this time. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Moderator, Donna Gill, 12 Ellington Road. I'm not sure this is a debate or not, but I already had a question about the totals that we're voting on, especially the ones that are in the summary.
I'm sorry, the what that we're voting on?
The totals.
The totals,
For
okay.
each of these, well, 3 of the pieces, both in Article 17 and Article 16.
Okay.
I don't know if this is the proper time, or should we just vote the amendment first?
Well, the amendment specifically, hopefully, will, if we keep the debate on track to the amendment specifically. They did discover the last line on Article 16. There's the F-550 maintainer utility with a crane is listed in the warrant as $105,000, and that is split between Article 16 and 17. You see, there's the same line on Article 17, so it's split between sewer and water. The price of that vehicle is increasing by $20,000, so they have to adjust the 550 from 105 to 115.
Okay.
So, and then the total going from 775 to 785,000. If that doesn't quite get to your point, I'll give you the floor again.
Well, I'll change my numbers according to the amendment.
Okay. Well, we need to vote to adopt the amendment before we carry on. Any other debate on the amendment as published in the supplemental handout? Seeing none, all those in favor to the amendment to Article 16, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment is adopted unanimously. Article 16 is amended according to the informational handout that we received. So now it's 115,000 on the last line and 785 for the total. Okay. Any debate on Article 16 as amended? Yes, ma'am.
Donna Gill, 12 Ellington Road.
I don't.
My question is more to do with the summary, I think. It says here the total cost of the Bobcat, according to these 2 articles, is $170,000. But in Article 13, we voted an additional $70,000 for the Bobcat for the same water, sewer, highway division. Could I have just a clarification on that? Are we talking about one Bobcat between these 3 articles, or?
Clarification on the distinction there between 16 and 17, the Bobcat specifically, and the line item on Article 13.
That's right.
Yes, you're correct. It's being used by all 3 divisions, highway, water, and sewer. So the cost is being split, $70,000, which we've already voted for in Article 13, and then 50 and 50 in water and sewer, respectively, for a total of $170,000.
Correct. And that 170 is not written anyplace here.
No, because it's split. Yeah, it's split between the 3
And
articles.
that goes for the asphalt roller also?
Yes.
We already voted. It's $25,000 for that.
Yes, $25,000 for that.
We're adding an additional. And this is only one asphalt roller?
Right.
To be split between all the divisions?
Yes.
That was my question. The summary doesn't agree with what we're voted on or what we will vote on.
The executive summary specifically?
That's correct.
I see what you're saying, yes. That should have included the amounts from
That's
the
correct.
highway, from the stabilization. Yes, sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out.
Hi,
Yeah.
Cynthia Bliss,
ma'am.
61 Shivers Circle.
Hi, Cynthia.
I have a question having to do with, because we've already seen here that one of these vehicles has already been affected by the tariffs that are coming. There's an awful lot of equipment that's being purchased soon. I can't believe that none of the others are going to end up with tariff issues along the way too, because almost nothing is completely built in the U.S. What happens to, say, the Bobcat or one of these other vehicles when our supplier turns around and say, oh, it's $40,000 more now? What happens?
So it depends on the magnitude of the differential. If it's $5,000, is it something we can pay for out of an operating line item to cover the difference? Right now we don't know if there is impact on these. I thought of the same thing. Why is it just one? Why isn't all of them? But right now we don't have any information that says that those are going to be more than what we originally got on the original quotes. If it's prohibitively more expensive, we'd have to wait. We'll have to come back to another town meeting to buy that equipment.
Thank you. Article 16. The original motion, Finance Committee moves to adopt the article as amended. Is that correct?
That's
Mr. Lavasser?
that is correct.
That's correct, adopt as amended.
All right. Article 16 has been amended. All those in favor of the adoption of Article 16 as amended, please signify now by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 16 as amended is adopted unanimously. Article 17. We also have an amendment. Same situation, second part. Mr. Lavasser.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt the amendment.
Mr. Curran, would you please introduce your amendment?
Motion to amend Article 17 of the 2025 annual town warrant by increasing the amounts appropriated for the F-550 maintainer utility with crane from $105,000 to $115,000, and further amending this article by changing the total water appropriation from $825,000 to $835,000.
Thank you. Any debate on the amendment? Only the amendment, please. Seeing none, the amendment to Article 17 to increase the amount from $825,000 to $835,000 to account for the additional $10,000 in F-550 line. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment is adopted unanimously. Article 17 as amended. Any debate on Article 17 as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 17 as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 17 as amended is adopted unanimously. Article 18.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 18, raise and appropriate the sum of $400,000 from the Stormwater Enterprise Fund.
Thank you. Article 18, any debate or discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor of the adoption of Article 18, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 18 is adopted unanimously. All right, take a breath, Mr. Lavasser, and let's hear your motion on Article 19, please, sir.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends that the town hereby appropriates the sum of $5.4 million for the cost of installing and replacing water lines in the town, and for the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is hereby authorized to borrow said sum under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 8(5) of the Massachusetts General Laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefor. Any premium received by the town upon the sale of bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Thank you. Article 19. Do I see anyone rising to debate Article 19? Yes, sir.
Charlie Anzoni, 180 Mitchell. Question, this is part of a long-term plan from what I was reading in the presentation that was passed out. So is this going to be 5,400,000 each year? Or is this something that's going to be, is this going to be the highest? Because we used to have 2.5 each year in place for putting lines, and now I know they're doubling it. Is it next year going to be tripled? And is this going to come up against the levy where we can't borrow any more money? I know we have something like $200 million in debt presently, and I know the levy is, what, 10% or something? So my thing was all these studies and things that we're planning to do. Are we going to be able to actually do this? And can we afford to do this?
Thank you.
So,
Mr. Kern, if you would address the increase of the amount.
Yes.
Year over year.
So it's the policy right now of the select board is to add $5.4 million in bond authorization each year moving forward to try to repair the water distribution system. And let's talk about, as you pointed out, it was less before. They did increase it, and they've been doing this now for, I think, two, maybe 3 years. Sorry. But to answer your question, credit to you, to Richard Montori, your debt service in town, 70% of your debt service is going to retire off the books in the next 10 years. I mean, the town's in incredibly good shape from the standpoint of debt service. So there is room in the town's future for this type of debt because of how quickly you retire debt. The debt that's issued from the town is usually 10 years, and most towns don't do it that quickly, and that's why it comes off the books so fast. And so to answer your question, there is absolutely room to handle these types of investments.
So this is going to be equivalent to like when we did the whole sewer program. This is going to be doing sort of like the whole town, but I mean, that's what it appears to be.
Not to that magnitude, but yes, the same idea.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kern. Additional discussion on Article 19. Seeing no one rise? This article requires a 2/3 vote. We will take this vote in reverse standing order. Again, reverse order. So all those opposed to Article 19, please stand at this time. All those in favor of Article 19, please stand at this time. Article 19 is adopted unanimously. Article 20.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves that the town hereby appropriates the sum of $1.5 million for the cost of purchasing and installing water meters and/or water meter components in the town, and for the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is hereby authorized to borrow said sum under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 8(6) of the Massachusetts General Laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds and notes of the town therefore. Any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of the issuance of any bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by like amount.
Thank you. I see any debate on Article 20. Seeing no one rise, Article 21 also requires a 2/3 vote. We're getting into a routine. So all those opposed, sorry, what did I say? 21. I'm reading ahead. I apologize. Article 20 requires a 2/3 vote. So we will take this vote in reverse standing order. All those opposed to Article 20, please stand at this time. All those opposed. All those in favor of the adoption of Article 20, please stand at this time. Article 20 is adopted unanimously. Article 21, Mr. Lavasser.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends adoption of Article 21.
Any debate on Article 21? Seeing none, Article 21 is a bylaw amendment. The quorum of vote is a majority, but I prefer to hold a counted vote on bylaw modifications, so I will hold the vote in reverse standing order. All those opposed to Article 21, please stand at this time. All those opposed to 21. I see no one. All those in favor of the adoption of Article 21, please stand at this time. Article 21 is adopted unanimously. This brings us to our consent calendar original location. On the consent calendar, adopted in the Article 3 vote, were Articles 3-22 and 3-23. Those are the corrected numbers. Those were adopted unanimously. Article 3-24 is relevant to Chapter 90 funds. Do I see anyone rising to debate Article 3-24? Actually, before we do, Mr. Lavasser, and may I have a motion on Article 3-24?
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 3-24.
Thank you. Debate on Article 3-24. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Laura Kaplan, 11 Monaco Road. relative to Article 3-24, formerly 3-23.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kaplan. Just so we're clear, if you could just lower that just a little bit and make sure you're speaking directly into it. Thank you.
So relative to Article 3-24, now as it stands, revised from Article 3-23 that was in our warrant. Pertaining to the Chapter 90 funds, I'd like to know how much was appropriated by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to our great town of Tewksbury for not only the repairs to the roads and the bridges and the equipment, but most importantly, at least to myself, is the installation of sidewalks and design of sidewalks. May I ask how much money was appropriated this year by the Commonwealth for the Chapter 90 funds?
Mr. Curran, the question is, how much money was appropriated by Chapter 90 funds, specifically in the area of sidewalks, if you can?
So in this current fiscal year that we're in, FY25, the town received, initially we received $914,000 and $914,126.60 for Chapter 90, and then the state increased that later in the year by $205,678.40. What we've done for sidewalk work in FY25 is we've done $94,000 worth of design work, and that was paid for through Chapter 90 funds. And some of that was for new construction of sidewalks, which is $38,000, almost $39,000 for new construction sidewalk design. And then some of that was for reconstruction, and that was $56,000 in design for that, for the total of $94,000 for design. And then for construction this year, we've spent $132,000 from Chapter 90 on sidewalks, and then we've spent $414,000 on sidewalk construction from other sources. Those other sources would be the general fund, the planning board sidewalk funds, and earmarks from the state. So of that $414,000, we've spent $108,000 that was on new construction, and $306,000 of that was on reconstruction of sidewalks, for total funds spent on sidewalks in FY25 of $546,784. And then that's for construction. And then when you add in the design, the total money spent on sidewalks was $641,742. And then the sidewalks that were done, to Fifth Street to Andover Street, which is 2/3 of a mile, and that's $1,023,000. Now, obviously, that's the cost of that construction project, but it's not all done in 1 year, obviously. So that Fifth Street project, we spent $108,000 in this fiscal year. Whipple Road, Pleasant Street to Chandler Street, is about 0.9 miles. That project, we spent $56,000 in design. In total for that project, but this year we spent $17,000 out of FY25 funds for design for the Whipple Road sidewalk project. Livingston Street from East Street to Roy's Way, that's 0.77 miles of sidewalk. We spent $157,000 worth of design money. This year we spent $21,000 on design for that Livingston Street project. And then sidewalk reconstruction projects included the Chandler Street, Library to East Street, and Pleasant, Town Hall to Center Elm School. That was 0.56 miles for both areas. And that was $530,000 worth of construction costs to date. But funds spent in FY25 is $442,000. $610. Livingston Street, to Roy's Way to Hazelfield, and Chandler Street, Foster Road to Indian Hill Road is about 0.89 miles for both areas. $57,000 is the design cost for that project. Funds spent in this year on design for that project is $52,000. So for FY25, other funding sources included $250,000 from the general fund for construction and design, planning board sidewalk funds $224,000, and a federal grant for $850,000, of which not all of that has been spent yet. That's planned for use for the construction of Livingston Street and East Street to Roy's Way. And then there was an earmark from the state for $25,000. So that's everything we've done related to sidewalks in FY25.
Well, not taking into account the $850,000 grant, because that's separate from the Chapter 90 funds. I wrote down as quickly as I could all what you said, which I graciously appreciate that. But I want to know if the Chapter 90 funds total that the town got was, correct me, $914,126.50. Of that, how much is being spent on sidewalks total?
So,
separate from the grant money,
right, yes,
and the planning board money that gets from when they build a house, I get it, and goes into that fund.
So $94,000 of Chapter 90 was spent on design, and $132,000 of Chapter 90 was spent on construction of sidewalks. So a little over $200,000 was spent from Chapter 90 in FY25 for sidewalks.
So essentially, based on all these brief figures that were given, we're only spending approximately 20% of the whole Chapter 90 funds that we're receiving, correct?
Yeah, in that neighborhood, yes.
So is that going to improve so we can achieve our goal, which has been discussed at every town meeting regarding having more money spent on Chapter 90 funds for sidewalks, installing sidewalks?
Ms. Kaplan, I know it took Mr. Kern quite a bit of time to get all that detail out, but we do want to hold to a 5-minute maximum. You're a little bit over, so Mr. Kern, I'll give you a chance to answer.
My apologies. Is my 5 minutes up? So I.
A little bit, but I'll allow Mr. Kern to answer, but then we're going to have to move on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Briefly, I would just say that even though you're looking at the 20% from Chapter 90, we do spend a significant amount of money from other sources on sidewalks. And I think what's important is that we continue to invest in sidewalks. And the director, the DPW director, and I have had a recent conversation about how to handle sidewalks moving forward, primarily because the cost of doing sidewalks has become much more expensive. So we're not able to accomplish as much with the amount of money we're spending. So it is something we are going to revisit. And I can make this information available. I can give you a copy of this information at the end of the meeting if you'd like.
Thank you, of course. And thank you. Sorry about the going over the 5 minutes, Mr. Martin.
I'm glad we got a chance to do the debate. And I'd encourage you to all to give Mr. Kern a call outside a meeting and get plenty of detailed answers to your questions. Article 3-24. Do I see anybody else rising to debate Article 3-24? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 3-24, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 3-24 is adopted unanimously. Article 3-25. Do I see this? Article 3-25 was held during the reading of the consent article. So I'll open the floor. Excuse me, if I could request Mr. Lavasser a motion on Article 3-25 before we get into it. I appreciate it.
Mr. Moderator.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 3-25.
Any debate on 3-25? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I asked to hold this because I had a couple questions.
If you could introduce yourself with your
Sorry,
name.
Michelle Lee, North Street.
Thank you.
The Geographical Information System, can somebody explain to me what that is? For $75,000?
Town engineer, care to answer that question, or Mr. Curran, or anybody? First one. GIS. What is the Geographical Information System, or GIS? Yeah.
You want to know what the GIS system is?
Yes.
So it's basically a mapping application that the town uses. Many towns use it. We use it for zoning. We use it for water and sewer. We lay out all our stormwater on it. We lay out any zoning on it. We lay out watersheds, the federal maps. Anything pertinent to town infrastructure is on these GIS maps. It's used by community development, for a whole host of things.
Is it a computer system?
Yeah, it's actually available online. Much of it is available to the public, that you can go into the town's website and access the GIS system and look at many of these things.
So are we getting a new one, or is this an annual operating cost?
So this is not, we're not getting a new one, but this is just establishing the expenditure cap for the revolving fund. So we get revenues from GIS, I assume through the permitting process, and it goes into this account, and then that money can be used to pay for things associated with GIS.
Okay. And then my other question was on e-billboards. I think we have 2 in the town, if I'm not mistaken. And it says we get fees from those, but I thought we actually paid for those.
No, we don't pay for the billboards. No, we do get revenue from them.
We get revenue from that. Okay. And so then that revenue is going to go towards sidewalk maintenance, installation, and reconstruction. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes. So we receive fees from the e-billboards. And then, yes, and they're to use for sidewalk reconstruction. That was part of the agreement that the select board did when they permitted the billboards.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. Appreciate
Yes.
it.
Thank you. Any other debate or discussion on 3-25? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 3-25, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 3-25 is adopted unanimously. This concludes the agenda for tonight. The zoning articles are scheduled for the continuation of this meeting on Wednesday, May 7th at 7:30 p.m., which follows the scheduled special town meeting at 7 p.m. It has been my pleasure to moderate the annual town meeting. Mr. Levasseur, may I have a motion to recess until 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, May 7th?
Mr. Moderator, I move to recess annual town meeting until Wednesday, May 7th at 7:30 p.m.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Town meeting is adjourned until Wednesday. Is continued until Wednesday.